Hey folks, today we're going to be talking about another favor slash XP farming method. This is a end game farming method that once set up will give you a crazy amount of favor, potentially over 200,000 per hour. This particular method was refined and tested primarily by Scourge, so definitely check out his channel. I'll put the link in the description. But yeah, a lot of credit goes to him for this specific setup. Anyway, jumping into it, the idea of this particular setup is that you find a map with a very high amount of monster density, in this case, Imperial War Camp, and you try and find it with a beacon, because as it turns out, the beacons actually give a significant amount of experience, and you do about half of the beacon-ish, and then you leave. For whatever reason, I don't really understand why. When you're doing the beacon, the first half of it, roughly, the monsters give you experience, and then the second half, you get 0 experience. So the idea is you run through the map as quickly as you can, you kill all the stuff along the way, and then at the end you start up the beacon, you kill the monster for a few waves, and then you leave, reset, and do the same thing again. It's also really important that you grab the echo modifiers you can see on the left here, enemies and rage at half health, because different echo modifiers give different amounts of experience, and this experience is very important now that experience has been nerfed. So you can see here each of these modifiers that I have. If I can find it, here's one here. This gives 40% increased experience gain. This is the highest amount you can get from a single modifier, so you want 2 of these, which is what I currently have. The other one that gives 40 is enemies are deadly. So either this or enrage you want to get set up, and then you do the farm. The other thing that's really important is when you set up your farm, you ideally want to do it in a timeline that you're not going to be increasing the corruption or doing the boss, because if you do the boss, you will lose these modifiers. If you increase corruption, you're going to reset and lose your beacon. And this does take a while to find. It doesn't need to be this particular thing. It doesn't need to be Imperial War Camp. But it is probably the best, or one of the best, maybe depending on your build. So anyway, let's jump into it. And I'll show you guys roughly what the farm looks like. So the idea is you're going to want to clear it as quickly as possible. What seems to be the best for this particular map is you run through, and it seems like going down the right side here, just killing everything along the way, seems to be the best. I guess while we're doing it, let's check our favor. So we're at 219.5. I've already started, but that's fine. So you definitely want a build with a high amount of AoE, as we currently have. And also ideally a lot of move speed. We have about 160. This isn't a particularly great one because there aren't many rare monsters, but that's okay. Just keep moving. Just keep clearing through. Then we start up the beacon. We're going to kill a few waves. Keep mind of the percentage down there at the bottom. It says 20%. So we're just clearing a little bit. We want to leave before we get to 50%. And there we go. We leave out. And right there, you can see we got quite a large amount of favor in a very small amount of time. So that's basically the idea of the farm. You can, as I said, get over 200,000 an hour doing this particular farm. And the other thing that's really nice, you don't actually need to be doing this at 1,000 corruption to still get a significant amount of experience. That's what I am running it at, 1,000. But even if you run it at 300 because of the recent XP changes, you still get almost 75% of the same favor per hour. These are just rough numbers that I put in that seem to be roughly where I'm at. I might be a little bit higher than this. Not exactly sure, I haven't tested it. I know Scourge did test it and he was over 200,000 an hour. This seems about right. You're going to get roughly around 400,000 base XP per run, something like this. You also do want to have the experience blessing from Fall of the Outcast. That's very important. So yeah, if you're clearing very slow, it's much more important that you run at a corruption you can speed clear rather than trying to run as high corruption as possible. This is extremely important. If you can't clear 1,000 very fast, drop your corruption down. And then you'll still get much more favor per hour if you can keep your run speed as high as possible. So this is very, very important that you keep that in mind. The next thing is it doesn't need to be Imperial War Camp, but if you are going to set it up, as I said, make sure you do it where you're not doing the shade or doing the bosses, as you will lose your echo modifiers. So to find where they are, you can use the zones page on Tunk Labs. So find this, go through, and then find the map that you want to run. And if you go to that, it will tell you which timelines they spawn in. So you can see for Imperial War Camp, Reign of Dragons, Blood, Frost, and Death, Fall of the Outcast, Spirits of Fire. I'm doing it in Outcast. This will dictate what monsters spawn. Some are going to be better than others. Some timelines are going to be easier. Some are going to have monsters with more experience. I personally like this one. Don't really have much of a reason, but it's not ideal for me to be doing this because I do want to kill the boss for one of the boss drops. So I probably should be doing this in a different timeline. So just keep that in mind. Two other maps that I thought were potentially really good that you might be interested in trying. Ritual Lake is a very large map that has a lot of rare and elite monsters. So if you have a very high single target, this might be a good map for you. If you can kill those elites very quickly, you're going to get a lot of experience from that. Another map that I personally used to push to 100 on League Start very quickly was Willow Marsh. So this is another one that you could do. This spawns in these timelines here. And you'll notice these three ones that I think are all good maps. They all spawn in Reign of Dragons. So Reign of Dragons could actually be a good timeline to do if you don't need the boss drop or anything like that. You just get to your desired corruption and then find a beacon in one of these three maps. And then there you go. You're pretty much set. One other thing that's really important that I want to let you guys know, just as a emergency backup plan, if you do accidentally complete this echo, as I have done before, it's very important that you find a reset nodes echo, and this will uncomplete the echo, and then you can save your setup, because this does take quite a while to find and set up. So if you do accidentally complete it, don't worry, you can go find one of these nodes, and then all you need to do is re-clear back to your beacon node. Then you need to find your Enrage or Deadly nodes, do those so that you have one of each. So this is very important that you have the setup. It makes a very big difference. And then you can start your farm again. The other thing that is important is if you're trying to find this beacon, it is probably quickest to start out from the center and then go to each directions. Try to reveal as many nodes per travel as possible. So like you travel outwards from the center in each direction, try and grab the beacons as they're going to reveal a lot of nodes around them. And if you find a beacon and there's no other beacons nearby, then you start pathing into a different direction until you find a beacon or a dead end. And then you clear it, it'll reveal a bunch of nodes. You keep going a different direction. Basically, you're trying to reveal as many nodes in a small amount of time as you possibly can. That's how you find the beacon as quick as possible. And then once you have a web that has no unknown travel nodes nearby, so like here, there's nothing that hasn't been seen within 3 travel nodes, for example, then you just do this Sanctuary of Eterra, you reset, and then you start again. You can also do the shade, but that's basically it, is once you don't have any nodes that are nearby that could have a beacon, reset, do again, and you should find one of these fairly quickly in one of the 3 maps mentioned. There could also be other maps that are good. These are only the ones that we've tested and seem to be good. If you find another one that you find has very good clear speed or it's really good for your particular build, that's okay. It doesn't need to be Imperial War Camp, but I do think it is worth doing the beacon thing. So yeah, I hope you guys found it helpful. If you made it this far, please leave a like on the video as it helps me a lot. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Cheers.